Okay, tonight is Mosiah chapter 9. You may recall we left off with Ammon stumbling upon a king named Limhi and his people, and Limhi being there. And he had left at the time that Mosiah was the king of the land where he lived, and traveled over to this land of Lehi Nephi and came across this king named Limhi. And so he was speaking with him, and they were kind of trading notes on what had happened since Limhi's grandfather Zenith had left the land of Zarahemla. So as they spoke, now we said that Limhi's people had kept some records also of what had happened in these years. And so now the next, let's see, chapters 9 to 22, the next 13 chapters, I guess it is, or 14, is a record of what happened to these people from when they first left the land of Zarahemla. So really what we're doing now is going backwards in time. Okay, we started out here, and now it's going to jump back to when Zenith first left Zarahemla, and so it's going to be his record and passing it on to his sons. So you're basically going to find out what happened, since they left, because this is like the main body of the group that the book is written about. So you don't really know anything about them. So this was going to catch you up on what happened from when Zenith left here. Okay, so that's we're starting that tonight, chapter 9. So if you have that there, you can see that this little title above it says the record of Zenith. Right, an account of his people from the time they left the land of Zarahemla until the time they were delivered out of the hands of the Lamanites. Okay.
I, Zenith, having been taught in all the language of the Nephites, and having had a knowledge of the land of Nephi, over the land of our father's first inheritance, and having been sent as a spy among the Lamanites, that I might spy out their forces, that our army might come upon them and destroy them. But when I saw that which was good among them, I was desirous that they should not be destroyed. Therefore I contended with my brethren in the wilderness, for I would that our ruler should make a treaty with them. But he, being an austere and a bloodthirsty man, commanded that I should be slain. But I was rescued by the shedding of much blood, for father fought against father, and brother against brother, until the greater number of our army was destroyed in the wilderness. And we returned, those of us that were spared, to the land of Zarahemla, to relate that tale to their wives and their children. And yet, I, being overzealous to inherit the land of our fathers, collected as many as were desirous to go up to possess the land, and started again on our journey into the wilderness to go up to the land. But we were smitten with famine and sore afflictions, but we were slow to remember the Lord our God.
As of now, this is the story of Zenith. Okay, so he was, at the time the story begins, he is a resident of what city? Zarahemla, correct. Okay, so he starts from Zarahemla, and it says that their original mission, if you will, was to check out the Lamanite people, for a potential battle. And the Lamanite people lived where? Right, this is the land of Nephi, which is I guess a shorthand. Later was called the land of Lehi Nephi. So Lamanites lived there, Nephites lived there. Okay, and so Zenith was going to go with this other group to check out the Lamanite people and to see how they might potentially destroy them. Okay, so once they went on this little mission, though, he had some compassion. He saw there was good in some of them, right? So he didn't feel good about it. Well, let's just wipe them all out. So he basically got into an argument with those who were, I guess, in charge of the mission. Says he contended with my brethren in the wilderness. He wanted to make a treaty and so forth. But the leader was just, my mission is to wipe him out. I want to wipe him out. And so he's ready to kill Zenith too, because he's not going along with the program. And so now a battle comes out between the people themselves, right? And so there, some are killed and others return back to the land of Zarahemla. Okay, so they go back to here, and how embarrassing must that have been, right? They had to fight with themselves. So how are we going to fight the enemy, if you will? We can't even get along ourselves, right? So they return to the land of Zarahemla. It says that in verse 3, it says, being overzealous to inherit the land of our fathers, collected as many as wanted to go up and visit that land again. Okay, now what land would be the land of his inheritance? The land of Nephi, they're referring to it as the land of their first inheritance. Why would that be the land of their first inheritance if that's where the Lamanites were living? That's where they all started out. Okay, at the beginning of the book, when they first come over to this land, they're all living in the same place. And then, if you remember, when the father Lehi died, then the group split. But the way they split wasn't that they both went separate ways. It was that Nephi and his people left the Lamanite people behind and went somewhere else. So that's really what happened, is that the Lamanites were here and stayed there. And so that's the original land that they all came to when they first arrived. So he's referring to as the land of our first inheritance, right? We'd like to have that back at some point. I guess we want to try to inhabit that land again. So you got a few people together. Says, come on, let's go see what we can do to maybe get at least a part of that land for ourselves, right? But as they went, they had some hardships, and why did they have hardships?
They forgot about God.
Exactly, because they were putting God in the picture, right? So it was just, I want land, right? It wasn't necessarily that they were prayerful about what God wanted, it's what I want, so.
Nevertheless, after many days wandering in the wilderness, we pitched our tents in the place where our brethren were slain, which was near to the land of our fathers. And it came to pass that I went again with 4 of my men into the city and unto the king, that I might know of the disposition of the king, and that I might know if I might go in with my people and possess the land in peace. And I went in unto the king, and he covenanted with me that I might possess the land of Lehi Nephi and the land of Shalom.
Right, so they make their way over there, and they go to speak to the king of the Lamanites, because that's who possesses this land. He says, can we get some land that we can live on? That's all. That this is, the land of our first inheritance, where we first lived. So we'd like to live here. So they went and said, can we have a piece of land that we can live on in peace? And so the king agreed. He says, okay, here's a nice little parcel of land for you, land of Lehi Nephi, land of Shalom. Okay, go ahead and live there in peace. So of course, as was already said, God wasn't anywhere in the picture here. It was just a mission to obtain land. So, so therefore, what seems like an easy story is not such an easy story, as we find out later.
And he also commanded that his people should depart out of the land, and I and my people went into the land, that we might possess it. And we began to build buildings, and to repair the walls of the city, yea, even the walls of the city of Lehi Nephi, and the city of Shalom. And we began to till the ground, yea, even with all manner of seeds, with seeds of corn, and of wheat, and of barley, and with nees, and with shum, and with seeds of all manner of fruits, and we did begin to multiply and prosper in the land.
At first it would seem like he was being very hospitable, right, and making room for these people to live there, even, as you say, moving his own people off the land and saying, you will live somewhere else, because these people are going to live here now. So again, it would have seemed that he was being very hospitable to them, but actually we're going to find out later there was an ulterior motive, right? He wanted them living there for a certain reason, and so they're going to come in and fix it all up, and so therefore it was helping his cause and his land. Okay, so that's probably one reason. So as was said, they went in and they began to now build it up. It says they began to build buildings or repair the walls of the city. So they're doing a lot of repairs and basically making the land a better place now. It says they're planting all kinds of stuff in verse 9, right? You see all the different things that they were planting, right? So they were going to be farming, and so yeah, they were making a lot of improvements to the land. So I'm sure that the land in that area benefited because now the Nephi people were living there.
Now it was the cunning and the craftiness of King Laman to bring my people into bondage, that he yielded up the land, that we might possess it. Therefore it came to pass that after we had dwelt in the land for the space of 12 years, that King Laman began to grow uneasy, lest by any means my people should wax strong in the land, and that they could not overpower them and bring them into bondage. Now they were a lazy and an idolatrous people. Therefore they were desirous to bring us into bondage, that they might glut themselves with the labors of our hands, yea, that they might feast themselves upon the flocks of our fields. Therefore it came to pass that King Laman began to stir up his people, that they should contend with my people. Therefore there began to be wars and contentions in the land.
Now you see there was a little bit of trickiness going on here, right? It says in verse 10, it says it was the cunning and craftiness of King Laman to bring the people into bondage, and that's why he was so eager to give the land over. So he was basically wanted them to come in and do some of the things that we're talking about, work and build up the land and plant and so forth. And now on top of just now owning land that was perhaps better kept, he was also now prepared to actually put the people in bondage, where they would now have to pay a large share of what they made and what they grew and so forth over to the Lamanites, because it says the Lamanite people were lazy and idolatrous and so forth, and so they were, hey, look at these people coming in, they're all industrious and ready to work and do things, and just as you've already said, you see the land was run down because the people were so lazy. So now somebody's going to come in and actually do something with it and turn it into something, and now we can even take what they're saying, well, that's really our land, so give me that, give me those crops. So you can see that they were just kind of laying a trap for them to get free labor and people who would actually do work that they could live off of instead of having to do it themselves. They let a lot of time pass. This is after 12 years passed. Now they're ready to start putting the rest of the plan into practice. All right. So I guess 12. It says the king began to get, or 11. The king began to grow uneasy, lest by any means my people should wax strong in the land, and that they couldn't overpower them. So they I guess didn't want to wait any longer, because now 12 years have passed. They put down roots. Maybe other people have come and joined them. Maybe they've started to have children, so the number is growing. And so yeah, now he's getting a little concerned. We can't wait too much longer, otherwise they'll be too powerful for us to just say, okay, now you're our slaves. All right, so basically the time had come that now's the time to do something. And it says in 13, it says he began to stir up the people. They should contend with the people, have wars and contentions and so forth, because now they're going to put the rest of the plan into place there.
For in the 13th year of my reign in the land of Nephi, away on the south of the land of Shalom, when my people were watering and feeding their flocks and tilling their lands, a numerous host of Lamanites came upon them and began to slay them and to take off their flocks and the corn of their fields. Yea, and it came to pass that they fled, all that were not overtaken, even into the city of Nephi, and did call upon me for protection. And it came to pass that I did arm them with bows and with arrows, with swords and with scimitars, and with clubs and with slings, and with all manner of weapons which we could invent. And I and my people did go forth against the Lamanites to battle.
Right, so this is kind of how it began. Right? This is the prior verses that we read said the king was getting uneasy. He was ready to kind of pull the trigger, so to speak. And so now in verse 14, it says now in the 13th year that they were there, it says now as they were just out innocently planting their crops and working on them and so forth, now it says they were attacked, right? People came and basically, killing some of the people and chasing them off, and so that they kind of fled into the city. So, as you notice, a couple of names given for cities here. The land of the city of Nephi, or Lehi Nephi, is, I guess, the city part, and then this Shalom must have been like a little land outside the city, so they actually had both of them. So it says now they were kind of fleeing into the city for protection. I guess there's those walls around the city, and so that this way they will be a little more protected and fortified and able to fight this battle. Okay, and so now once in the city, now he says, I'm going to arm you and give you the swords and the clubs and so forth. This way we can protect ourselves since they're attacking us. And so what started out as a peaceful mission and a peaceful time of living in this land of their first inheritance. Now they're seeing that the Lamanite people are what they were always told they were. They were the lazy but bloodthirsty people that are going to just take what they want and use force to get it.
Yea, in the strength of the Lord did we go forth to battle against the Lamanites. For I and my people did cry mightily to the Lord, that he would deliver us out of the hands of our enemies. For we were awakened to a remembrance of the deliverance of our fathers. And God did hear our cries, and did answer our prayers, and we did go forth in his might. Yea, we did go forth against the Lamanites, and in one day and a night we did slay 3,043. We did slay them even until we had driven them out of our land. And I myself with mine own hands did help to bury their dead. And behold, to our great sorrow and lamentation, 279 of our brethren were slain.
Now you see in 17 it says that now it says in the strength of the Lord we went forth to battle. And if you notice that the latter part of that verse, it says we were awakened to a remembrance of the deliverance of our fathers. Okay, and that's kind of the key part of that, because they're now remembering that the stories they've been told about their ancestors, that they always fought in the name of God. Right? It wasn't just to fight in their own strength, but they were fighting in the name of the Lord. So they remembered how when their ancestors fought that way, that they were successful, and so now they did it the same way. Being prayerful that, all right, well now if we have to fight, that will God give us the strength, and then recognizing that whatever we accomplish, we can thank God for it then, right? So if we're going to be victorious, it's not because we were the better strategy team, or we're smarter or strong or whatever. It's because God helped us. So that would be also fighting in the name of the Lord. We're fighting on God's behalf. Okay, so once they put the name of God into it, so now you see they were successful in this. And, I don't know what kind of numbers were in the armies to start with, but as you can see in 18 it says like 3,000 of them were killed, and 279 of us were killed in the next verse. So so of course it was still sad to have anybody be killed, but you can see it was pretty much a big victory when it comes to that.